Professional standards, if you're really going to be a professional, you've got to conduct continuing education. That's crucial. That's one of the things that CIPS offers. I submit that professionals ought to be members of at least 2 professional associations. CIPS is a very good one, but there are other associations. It's a good way to network. It's a good way to talk to the supply chain if you're nervous about conflicts of interest. Ethics is extraordinarily important. And one of the things I discovered here, it depends on the industry. There's an awful lot of corporate entertainment. There's an awful lot of tainting of people's judgment by accepting gratuities. Sometimes the gratuity can be nothing more than a pen with the logo of the other company. But I got to tell you, it's disconcerting when you come to visit a company, if you're a marketeer, and your competitor's logo is on your potential customer's coffee mug. What we found is that professionals behave best when they don't owe anything to their supply chain personally. And so we changed our rules, and we're changing them at BAA as well. No gratuities at all. If you need team building get-togethers, then treat it, if it's warranted, then treat it as a travel expense and participate, pay your own way. The other component is the quantitative skills. I think it's important for us to make sure that people know how to count and be able to do forecasting, be independent. I think the procurement people need to be the protectors of integrity and have pride in their profession. And I think the final thoughts are these. Create your own supply chain. Think globally to make sure that you've considered all the potential sources in the world. Don't be protectionist. Socio-economic, social policy comes with a price. Now, we didn't talk too much about that, but we need to be careful that by doing corporate responsibility, you don't have hidden costs that are being dropped to your bottom line and taking away your profitability. It doesn't do anybody any good in your community if you're not cost effective. Find the social programs that don't cost lots of money. Integrity is everything. Don't be prejudiced against or for suppliers. I would encourage you to select and support a supply chain ombudsman, and then I would encourage you to develop, retain, and respect good contracting officers and give them plenty of power independently, but give them plenty of oversight as well. Now, she just gave me the high sign, so I've got a couple, 3 minutes to answer questions. Anybody want to argue with me? Anybody want to discuss any of these ideas? The floor is open to all of you. Yes, sir. I was the commercial director at Sellafield. I was at the front table. It's very difficult to push this uphill. What you need, in my judgment, is to get the CEO to agree that it's time to get a senior professional at the executive level. My title at BA is Executive Director for Capital Programs. I've got all of those professions working for me. If you don't have that champion, it's going to be hard. But what you have to do is to sell why it's going to drop to the bottom line. And that's where I think getting CIPS and other senior professionals to meet with your own leadership team to hear these kinds of messages. Flat guarantee, if you do some of these things, you'll save money. At Sellafield, over not this last year, but the prior 2 years, we saved $200 million out of $1.3 billion. That's a significant savings. It generated an awful lot of extra business activity. But you have to have the champion that can be able to explain how this thing works, in my judgment. The other thing is, change shouldn't be incremental. It needs to be the Big Bang theory. What you need to do is get as much of this done as quickly as you can. And 100 days is not an unreasonable amount of time. Recruiting and training will take some time. But what you need to do is lay out the plan, do as many of these things as you feel are appropriate, add any others that you want, but lay out the overall plan and make sure that some senior person with the credibility of the chief executive of the board is going to be the one that's going to deliver. Ombudsman. I think it's a great 2-year assignment for a former contracting officer. I've pulled contracting officers out of their present job and put them into that role and say, no, don't think like a contracting officer, but don't forget what you were doing. In each case, they've come out of that world much better skilled at how to manage their supply chain, and they were much more sensitive to the end user community as well. So I take a bright, articulate person who listens well and has enough procurement experience to qualify as a contracting officer. But I don't go outside. I don't go to social program people, which was when people were suggesting, well, what you really need is a communicator or somebody in the corporate responsibility world. No, that's not what I want. I want business men and women that are able to think like businessmen and women, and the things that we do We're for altruism. We didn't do this because we're nice. We do it because it's in our best business interest. Okay, thank you very much. I'll be up here for a minute or two.